Welcome to another OCD Recovery Instagram Live. I'm going to be talking today a bit about meds and about coming off meds in the long term or in the short term, depending on how someone feels. So I'm going to be talking a bit about that because I did a post about it and I wanted to give more context to it. Not that I didn't think there's enough context covered in the posts I did, but I think it's good to have a bit more of an understanding of what's involved with meds and the OCD recovery journey. So a long time ago, not that long, but in the last few decades, people thought that OCD was just a chemical imbalance that you would need medication for the rest of your life. That is not reality. It's not how it works. If that was the case, I wouldn't even be running this page called OCD Recovery. I'd say you've got a chemical imbalance. There's nothing I can do for you. You're just going to have to take meds the rest of your life. And there would be nothing that I could do. Well, it doesn't work like that. At the core of all OCD suffering, all anxiety suffering, are beliefs. There's a fear in there. There's a belief in there that's underneath it, and it's subtle and it's often hard to get to because it requires a lot of changing of perspectives and beliefs. And what happens when people haven't done that? They feel the anxiety and they come to the conclusion very quickly that they're treatment resistant. They're never going to get better. They're going to be stuck like this forever, and that's their life. And that quickly becomes their reality. That quickly becomes how they see things. Then they take meds. They feel some relief. They think, these meds were the only way. I never got relief before. That's because they hadn't got under the beliefs. You've got to ask yourself, would I have anxiety if I wasn't scared of the thing I'm scared of right now? And the answer is no, you wouldn't. There is always a fear. There is always a fear there. But because you haven't got under it, you're feeling the anxiety now. Now, people who don't have OCD, they don't have to go out and do all this work we have to do. But it's a hell of a lot easier than a lot of other diseases and things that people have. So we just have to do it. And we're lucky that we've got this option. Because if you had schizophrenia, for example, it wouldn't be so simplistic. They live a lot better now, but it wouldn't be the same as with OCD and anxiety disorders. So what I wanted to talk about was meds and how that journey goes. You can take meds because it will help take the edge off. There is no judgment on that. It's a very good idea for so many people. We can all take meds at any time, whether we have an anxiety disorder or not. If we've got, look, of course, people take meds who haven't got OCD. People take meds who've got a bit of anxiety or they've got some depression that's there. They take meds. There's no judgment on it. For OCD, that's got a stronger impact. Taking meds can often be very beneficial and life-changing. Some people I see, and I've been working with people over a decade, see a great benefit from meds. Some people see more trouble from meds than it's worth to them. Some people, it's a lifesaver and a game changer. Some people, that suddenly stops 2 years down the line because the med's not as effective anymore. These things all happen. There is no judgment on meds. You're not weak for taking them. You're not strong for not taking them. I never took them. Could I have made my journey a bit easier on myself in the past if I'd taken them? Absolutely. Looking back, would it have been a good idea to take them? Probably at times, yes. So meds are a thing like that, where people have got all different reasons why they would take them, and all different people have different reactions to them. Some people have to go and try a lot of different meds to get to where they want to feel. So they have to try different meds, have bad side effects with one. Some people have to go to an SNRI instead of an SSRI because they have a different reaction. They have different feelings with those. Some people who might have generalized anxiety disorder and OCD find they work better on an SNRI. Some people might try one and have a bad reaction and try another. Some people might work better with the SSRI versus the SNRI. Some people might work better with taking a small dose. Some people with a higher dose. Some people feel numbed out with a higher dose and less on another, and so on and so on. All variants, okay? So there's nothing wrong with taking meds. Now, in the long term, or maybe in a slightly shorter term for someone, all personal reasons, we want to be working towards recovery without meds. That doesn't mean there is any judgment if you do take meds. Doesn't mean you can't take meds your whole life. You can. Will it really harm you? I doubt it. Will it have better health benefits to be off it? I would have thought so. Why do we want to work towards not being on meds? Because it's nicer to take less tablets in our life. It's nicer to not be taking meds. If everyone right now, people don't jump into meds because they feel like, I'm just going to take them because this is easy, I'm just going to do it. People have to weigh it up. I usually say to people, it's always a choice made with your doctor, and you decide, the same as when you're coming off meds, you've got to come off it slowly and gradually, not instantly because of all the problems with that. But people shouldn't rush to take a decision to be on meds. And when people do take the meds, they shouldn't be scared to do it either. Many people are on meds. It's a personal choice, and you weigh it up, and then you go for it. Now, the problem comes when someone's been on meds for a very long time, okay? They've been on meds for years and years and years. Let's say they've been on meds it's not actually a case of how long they've been on meds. It's more a case of how the journey progresses. So what happens, a lot of people work very hard for recovery. They're working every day to recover, doing a lot of work, doing a lot of learning rational thinking, exposures, disputing beliefs, unconditional self and life acceptance, doing a lot of work on that. And then they take meds, they feel relief, and they think, do you know what? I'm going to stay like this for the moment. I'm going to give up that work. And they give up that work now, and they get comfortable. They're functioning. They've still got lingering anxiety and some chronic guilt, but it's lighter, and they go about their life like that for a long time. And it doesn't give them momentum, push them forward. It's like anything. It's like somebody who hasn't got any money and has had to work very hard to make money versus somebody who's been given the money. The person who's had to work for it installs a dedication and sort of hard work attitude to get better, because they can't not make that money, because otherwise they're going to be in trouble. And that's the same with medication. Often what happens is we get into a word that I sort of coined a couple of years ago, and let's call it coasting. And Oliver did a video on it on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, where people get comfortable with that functioning, even though it's not great, and then they just stay there. And they don't feel the push to get better. It's the same as like everything in life. When we have a hard moment, it can really push us to change. So they then carry on as they are, and they don't really push themselves out of the comfort zone to get out of that position. Now the dangers with that is if the meds stop working, they haven't got a fallback position. That can happen. People come into me in big crises when the meds have stopped working and they're really panicking in a really bad way, and they haven't forgotten everything, not forgotten everything, they just haven't gone over it for a very long time. So it's very important to work towards recovery on our beliefs, changing our beliefs, learning to become more rational, learning to get under fears, learning to become better acceptance, and so on. Then what happens? Long term, over time, we get better. And then we can reduce the medication we're on with the guidance of our doctor. And then what happens? Well, we can gradually come off meds altogether, hopefully. Now, for some people it'll be more difficult than others. Some people realise they're on a lot higher dose than they thought, especially with so many doctors around the world putting people on very high doses with OCD when they keep going back in there complaining that it hasn't gone. Their only answer is increase the dose. So people stay stuck with high doses where they needed a lot less dose. It's a case of diminishing returns a lot of the time. So the goal, realistically, should always be to come off meds long term. It pushes us, drives us to make change. There's nothing wrong with being on meds long term, but there's a lot of great benefits to be had, both mentally, physically, from being off meds altogether. It's better. You learn to adapt to it's always better to be on less medication, even if you're not experiencing side effects. I'm not too concerned about if I was on meds long term. I wouldn't be too concerned about the side effects, because most of the studies you've seen people living on them for a long time. But I can imagine it's healthier to not be on meds. I was on protein pump inhibitors, PPIs, esomeprazole, Nexium, for about 8-9 years, because I had such bad stomach problems relating to my anxiety. Now, that can cause, according to studies, I think, osteoporosis. So it's not good to be on them for a long time. But I was, because I didn't have any alternative, because I had such bad anxiety, burning all my esophagus from acid reflux. Was it a good idea to come off them? Yes. How was it difficult coming off them? Yes, because I was scared of coming off them in case it came back. I really had to take the risk. It was actually my mum who pushed me. She was like, look, you've got to come off it. It's not healthy to be on it all the time. And so then I got scared it'd come back, then watched my stomach more, anxiety came back, burnt again my stomach, and I thought, I've got to risk this a bit now. And so I came off it more and more, and then I got off it. And that was a bit of how that went. Every time I went back to the doctor, they were like, God, you're still on it, but they kept writing prescriptions, because they often will. Same with Valium in America. It's massively overprescribed. It's a 14% increase in Valium subscriptions in the month of March, relating to COVID situation. So when you have things like that, you've got to really take it on board yourself to want to change and get off these things. But you don't do it suddenly when you're feeling bad, absolutely not. You wait till you're feeling balanced. Guidance with your doctor, you're feeling balanced, less medication, balanced enough, then you come down. The long-term goal for everyone, I say, should be to come off meds. And that is not attack. People will often say, well, it's stigmatizing people who can and can't. It's not. It's like saying that one person can run 100 meters in a certain time and someone else can run it in a less time, that one person is better than the other for doing so. It isn't anything to do with that. It's just genes. It's just a thing like that with change. It probably wasn't the best analogy, but I'm saying there's no judgment on anyone's what they do. Somebody might have to work twice as hard as another person to get recovered, and someone else might not. And so there's a lot of just genetic luck in there. But usually, in my experience, that most people have been stuck with OCD for a very, very long time. It all comes down to beliefs, and some people need harder work than others. And I was one of those. I can't emphasize how hard I worked. I literally had to work so hard to get to this position that I am now. And then to do that was a very, very difficult thing, because I had to read all the books over and over. I had to do so much disputing beliefs, so many shame attacks, so many exposures. Really, really challenging for me. I had a lot worse OCD, I imagine. I think OCD, genetically how it operates in different people, is probably similar in a lot of ways, but it's just mainly because of the belief system. I was very rigid with a lot of black and white thinking, and that was in there. It was very, very rigid. And so I had very bad physical anxiety for years. I was in and out of hospital with lots of problems to my stomach, other problems that I experienced because of anxiety. And so long stuck with that. It was a very, very difficult. And if I look at, I've worked with thousands and thousands of people, probably worked down over 18,000 hours, one-to-one sessions, group calls with people all over the world. So I've worked with OCD for a very, very long time. And if I had to put myself in a category of all the people I've worked with, how bad my OCD was, I was definitely up there. I was really bad. And when you look back at it and you think about it, you think about the work done, and I look at all the people that say to me, oh, Rob, it's too difficult, whatever. You've got to ask yourself, well, how hard have you tried so far? How much work have you done so far? Of course you could have done loads of exposures, but until you start looking at the beliefs, it can stay locked in there. So you've really got to think, well, what am I got to do to get better? How much do I want this? You've got to really want that, and you've got to really make that change. And I think that's important, because otherwise, the coasting option, it's all right if you're functioning. It's a hell of a lot better than not functioning. We've all been in that position. But at the same time, you've got to ask yourself, what more do you want in this life? How do you want to feel? Do you want to feel free from anxiety? Is that possible for most people? Yes. When's it not possible? That's an interesting question, because people often talk about treatment resistant like it's super common. Well, I'm not even sure it's even reality. You do see cases of people that find it difficult to recover, right? You do see that. I mean, I've worked with people in the most severe cases out there. I've worked with people that have had deep brain stimulation, have been to therapist, centre to centre, spent 6 figures on trying to recover in all different centres around the world. People that have had multiple suicide attempts, been stuck for 30, 40 years. I work with all those cases regularly. I work with those. And what have I seen in all those years of doing that? I've never seen treatment resistant. I've seen people who don't understand things, don't understand to get under their belief yet. They're still going with compulsions, or they're not doing enough work, and so on. There's a lot of that. Do I think there is treatment resistant cases? No. Do I think there's cases that make it more difficult? Yes. What would that be? Well, maybe somebody comes in who's got cancer and got OCD. That'd be quite challenging to get over, especially if they're in their teenage years and it's all coming to them suddenly and they've just lost a parent or something. Much more challenging. Could they feel treatment resistant? Yes. Are they? No. Do I say that treatment resistant exists? I've never seen it. It's like anything. I can't say that it completely doesn't. I've never seen it. I've never worked with anyone that I would say is treatment resistant ever, and I've worked with the variation. I can't think of any cases that would be harder than what I've seen. So I can't imagine there to be this so-called treatment resistant. But I can imagine it becoming people thinking that, because if you didn't understand OCD, you'd see so much of it. You'd think, oh, he's done this number of CBT, he's done this number of ERP, oh, he's got to be treatment resistant. You'd think that all the time. I convinced myself of it so many times. I've done all this work and it's still lingering. Oh, this thought's been stuck for 4 years. Oh, I can't get under it. Other people, it's released. They've read Claire Week's books many times and leave the thoughts there. I can't do that. I'm treatment resistant. Of course, we all think that at times. That's what this page is all about. That's what all the work that I've done with this, with OCD recovery, in terms of the work, not in terms of my own journey, is about changing that. Do you still have OCD, Rob? Of course. OCD I imagine is genetic. I mean, science is still out, but I imagine it is some biological. Do I still have it? Yes. Do I suffer from it? No. Do I notice it on a day-to-day basis? No. Does it come in at times? Yes. How often does it come in? Fleeting, for seconds, now and again. Anyone who's claiming they're cured doesn't understand OCD. You can't cure it. It will always be there as a slight tendency. Does it have any impact on my life? No. So that is the goal of what we're trying to achieve. Might take a while. Might need to be on meds for a while whilst you're trying to get there. But don't shut the door on the hope for it. People do shut the door on the hope for it. Why? Because after a while, when you've been suffering for a very long time, it becomes tiring. It becomes easier to shut the door. It becomes easier to put yourself in that position. Not because you want to, because you're so fed up. So long you've been trying to get better. So long you've been working to get better, and you've not felt better, and it's not released. So that's where that position comes to. It's understandable, but don't shut the door on it. Leave that door open to hope. Right, let's have a look at some of these questions before I go on any more. I'm not sure I like this new Instagram format of questions where it sort of shrinks the picture and then you've got to go through this. But what can I do about it? I can't complain. Who am I to Instagram? I'm going to get heard. Does OCD push you to Jesus? Nathaniel's girlfriend. Well, it didn't push me to Jesus because I'm not religious anymore. But for some people who are religious, maybe they turn to faith. They might do. All the lives I save go on YouTube. So you can check out our YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And this will be going up there. What is the solution other than meds? Or what this channel is all about? If you go through the YouTube channel, Instagram page, and go to our website. Please, new website up this week. www.ocdrecovery.com. Explains everything that I do. We do, covering it all in detail. So you can see all about it there. Forgot that's all up now, so I'm going to send you to that new website. Check it out. Yeah, we'll take the edge off, not always though. OCD is pretty resilient, it cuts through. Anxiety is designed to save your life. It can cut through Valium, it can cut through benzos, all sorts of things. It cuts through like that. Antipsychotics are often used alongside an SSRI to help with how your brain utilizes it. It's commonly used. Physical symptoms with anxiety is very normal because it's all connected into your nervous system. So you'll feel a range of physical symptoms often. Somatic OCD along with fibromyalgia is not great, along with a whole host of other conditions. I can imagine fibromyalgia is difficult. It's what Lady Gaga suffers from. It's not, you can't recover from fibromyalgia, but you can certainly learn and adjust to live with it. The Lady Gaga documentary is fantastic on Netflix, talking about her journey with it. Yeah, fibro is challenging. People live a lot better nowadays with it, but it is tricky. Somatic OCD, check out our YouTube videos by Nick talking all about his journey with somatic OCD. Yeah, it can be a sign of progress, OCD throwing loads of different thoughts all the time. It can be because it's trying to turn up the heat because it's not getting you with the old one anymore. So it can be, yeah. For some people, it just moves around a lot. For some, it stays on one. It's all random. How long until I really felt and understood unconditional self-acceptance? It was a long time, you know. It took me probably 2 years till I really started to feel it and understand it. And I was working pretty hard to get to that point, you know. It's a big shift in life. It's not instant. Any books that you recommend for the spouse of an OCD sufferer? Well, I'd recommend they watch for books. Well, my book will have a big section all about friends and family, but our YouTube channel's got a friends and family section. So if you check that out, there's loads in the friends and family playlist for them to see. And our website talks about that as well. Great. All right, guys. I think that's covered everything that I wanted to cover here. I will see you guys on the next Instagram Live shortly, where I'll be doing another question and answers format. All right, guys, I'll see you then. Take it easy.